All right. Ready to unlock your inner storyteller? Because today, we're going deep, deep into the art of crafting captivating narratives.
Yeah, we're going to be pulling apart, dissecting some insights from English Voice Club, The Art of Storytelling. And I have a feeling you're going to walk away with some serious storytelling superpowers. What do you think?
Oh, I think absolutely. And what's really cool about this source is how it emphasizes, storytelling. It's not just for like campfire tales or bedtime stories.
Right.
It's like it's highlighting how important it is in everyday life.
Yeah.
From totally nailing that job interview to even acing, the IELTS exam.
I love that. It's like saying, hey, storytelling, that's a superpower.
Yeah.
And honestly, it makes sense. Stories, that's how we connect, how we share what we've been through, how we make sense of everything around us, the whole world.
Exactly. I mean, think about it. When you hear a good story, you get pulled in.
Yeah.
You feel those emotions. You connect with the characters. That's the power of a good story. It's true. It's true. So let's get down to how do we actually build a story? Right? How do we make something that really pulls people in? The source, it lays out a really, really clear, step-by-step, like a recipe.
Yeah.
And it all starts with setting the scene.
And you know what I find really interesting is that it doesn't just say set the scene. It's it gives you actual techniques to do it.
Oh.
It really stresses how important it is to have a strong opening sentence that answers those, basic questions, who, when, where, what. But it does it in a way that immediately hooks the listener.
Okay, so it's not just about the facts. It's about how you give them.
Yeah.
To make people want to know more.
Yeah.
Could you give me an example?
Absolutely. So the source uses the example, it was summer, and I went with some friends to a beach in Crimea, which you could only get to by boat. See how that one sentence, already it makes you curious?
Yeah.
You want to know, who are these friends? What's this beach like? Why can you only get there by boat? It's a movie trailer that makes you want to see the whole film.
That's so true. It's it paints a picture, right away in your head. And you're like, okay, what happens next?
Yeah.
I'm starting to see it's more than just listing facts.
Yeah.
It's about creating that world that the listener steps into.
Yeah, and the source, it doesn't stop there. It goes on to say that after that initial hook, you expand on the scene with one or two more sentences.
Okay.
But you really want to focus on the juicy details, the most interesting stuff.
Okay, so choose details that are going to make the listener be like, ooh, tell me more.
Yes.
But how do you know, which details are going to be the interesting ones?
Well, that's where, your storytelling instincts kind of kick in.
Yeah.
Think about what's unique, what's unexpected, maybe even a little bit strange about the setting. So the source, it gives the example of the beach in Crimea being a hippie place where people just walk around naked.
Interesting.
I mean, that detail, immediately, it just sets a tone, creates a visual, and makes you just want to hear more about what happened on this crazy beach.
Yeah, it's a great example. It adds so much more than just saying it was a beach.
Yeah.
So it's not just about setting the scene, it's about setting the right scene.
Exactly. It's about choosing details that not only inform, but they intrigue.
Ooh.
They make you want to know more.
I'm already starting to rethink how I tell stories.
Yeah.
This is great. Now the source, it also talks about another key thing. A goal. What do they mean by that?
Well, think of it this way. Every story needs a driving force, right? So the people in your story, they have to want something.
Okay.
And this goal, it's what propels the story forward, keeps the listener hooked.
So it's not just what happened.
Right.
It's what the characters are trying to go after.
Exactly. And the source makes a really important point. The goal, it doesn't have to be some huge epic thing.
Okay.
It can be simple, like catching a train, or more challenging, like crossing a mountain pass. What matters is it's clear to the listener what's at stake.
This is making me realize a lot of times I just jump into telling a story.
Yeah.
And I don't even really think about what the goal is.
Right.
But that seems to be what makes the story move forward.
Absolutely. Without a goal, a story, it can just feel aimless.
Yeah.
It's just wandering around with no destination. But when you've got a clear goal, even a simple story, it can be super captivating because the listener's invested. They want to see if they reach the goal or not.
Okay, I'm sold. Goal, definitely going on my storytelling checklist.
Yeah.
So we've set the scene, we've got our goal. What's the next thing in our storytelling recipe?
Well, according to the source, it's time to add a little tension.
Tension. Okay, I like where this is going. Tell me more.
All right. So think about like your favorite movies or your favorite books. Yeah.
They're not just a bunch of happy events, right?
Right.
There are conflicts, there are obstacles.
Yeah.
Those moments where you're like, I don't know what's going to happen next. That's tension. That feeling of, ooh, what's next?
Right.
That edge of your seat moment keeps you hooked.
So it's about like keeping the listener guessing. Like, are they going to make it? Are they going to get over those challenges?
Exactly. Yeah. And you know the source, it gives like a hilarious example of what not to do.
Yeah.
Like they share this story that's like, there was a monster, liked to eat people. A hero killed the monster. Everyone was safe. The end. And they're like, see how flat that is?
Yeah, yeah.
There's no tension. There's no buildup. It's just blah.
It's like if someone told you the punchline of a joke without the setup. You're just like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
What was the point of that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the source really stresses how important tension is to keep your listener like really into it.
Okay.
Without it, even the most interesting story can just fall flat. Okay, I'm starting to see tension. It's like the secret sauce that makes a story really good. But how do we actually create that tension in our own stories?
Well, the source, it gives some really practical tips. One is like bringing in problems or difficulties that the characters have to get over.
So don't make it too easy for them to reach their goal. Throw a few roadblocks up.
Exactly, yeah. In Mountain Pass story, for instance, they mention the thin air, the heavy pack. Then, bam, a sudden storm hits.
Oh, that's a great example. It makes you wonder, like, is the hiker going to make it out okay? Is something bad going to happen? I can see how that keeps people like on the edge of their seats.
Yeah, and another technique they highlight is foreshadowing. They use the example of a flatmate who's told not to touch a room, but the storyteller knew they were going to do something.
Ooh, I love that. It's like planting a little seed and you know something's coming, but you don't know what.
Yeah.
That's good.
Foreshadowing, super powerful tool for building that anticipation, keeping the listener hooked.
Yeah, this is making me realize a lot of times I just rush to the end of a story without like building that tension. It's like I'm so focused on getting to the punchline that I forget to make those moments of what's going to happen next.
It's a common trap.
Yeah.
But with these techniques, we can all learn to create stories that keep our listeners hooked. Wondering what's next.
Okay, so we've set the scene, we've got our goal, we've injected that tension. What's the next step in making a good story?
Well, according to the source, it's all about sticking the landing.
Okay.
We need to resolve that tension and say, did they reach the goal or not?
The grand finale?
Yeah.
I love it. But sometimes I struggle with endings. I either rush them or I feel like I'm explaining way too much.
Yeah.
How do you find that sweet spot of wrapping it up, but in a way that feels good?
That's a great question. And the source, they give some helpful advice on this, too. They say, it's important to clearly explain what happens at the end. Did the characters reach their goal? How? And they really stress the power of what they call a retrospective comment.
Retrospective comment. What's that?
It's that little reflection at the end of the story where you share like your thoughts or feelings about what happened. Okay. It's like adding your personal touch, a layer of meaning, to help the listener connect with the story.
So it's not just about what happened, it's how the storyteller felt about it.
Exactly. The source gives some great examples, like in the story about the mine and the harbor.
Yeah.
The retrospective comment is, it was stressful at the time, but looking back now, it makes a good story.
I love that. It adds a little humor.
Yeah.
And it shows the listener even stressful, challenging things can become entertaining stories after some time. What other examples do they give?
Well, in the Mountain Pass story, the retrospective comment is, it was a very frightening experience. So it adds a sense of like realness, the danger they faced.
So the retrospective comment, it can be funny, it can be reflective, even like deep, depending on the story. Right. It's like that final touch that completes it.
Yeah.
It's amazing how these small things can change how a story feels.
Absolutely. And, the source also mentions that retrospective comments, they're especially useful in spoken conversation. Okay. Because they signal to the listener that the story's coming to a close.
Oh, that makes sense.
It's a subtle cue that helps the conversation flow.
Yeah. I can see how that would be important when you're just talking to someone.
Right.
You don't have those visuals like in a book or movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of bringing this story to life, the source, it doesn't just focus on structure. Yeah. They talk about details, humor, character development, all those things that make a story really come alive.
Okay, so the structure's like the foundation.
Yeah.
But we can't forget all those other things that add richness, depth.
Exactly.
Tell me more about how those play in.
Well, with details, they really push choosing details that are not just informative, but like evocative.
So not just saying it was a red car,
Yeah.
but saying it was a cherry red convertible, top-down radio blasting.
Yeah, exactly. Those details, they create a picture in the listener's mind and make it more engaging. And then with humor, they point out that like a well-placed joke or funny anecdote can just lighten the mood and keep the listener entertained.
I love that. Little humor goes a long way.
Absolutely. Now, when it comes to character development, that's where your observation skills come in.
Okay.
The source, they encourage storytellers to really pay attention to people.
Okay.
Notice their quirks, their mannerisms, how they talk.
So it's about bringing those little details to life, right? Showing the listener who these people are, not just telling them.
Exactly. And by giving your characters these realistic details, you make them more believable, more relatable, and ultimately way more interesting to the listener.
This is making me realize good storytelling, it's so much more than just listing facts.
Right.
It's like painting a picture with words, creating a world that the listener can, like, step into with you. And it's about connecting with them, making them laugh, cry, or think about things differently.
You got it. And the best part, anyone can become a better storyteller.
Yeah.
It's a skill, like anything else.
Yeah,
you can learn it, you can improve it.
Yeah. That's really cool. I love that this source, it's giving us the tools to tell our stories and share what we've been through in a way that pulls people in and inspires them.
And remember, the source says vocabulary isn't everything. You don't need to be like a walking dictionary to tell a great story. Yeah. What really matters is the structure, the emotion, the connection you build with your listener.
I'm really starting to believe that. It's not about using big words. It's about choosing the right words. The words that paint the most vivid picture, make people really feel something, and leave a lasting impression.
Exactly. And that brings us to a really important takeaway for you, the listener.
Yeah.
You have stories to tell. And you have the power to tell them in a way that captivates and inspires people. Don't let a limited vocabulary hold you back or a fear of like speaking up. Embrace storytelling and watch your words come to life.
It's like we've been given this amazing toolkit.
Yeah.
And now we just need to go use it. This is making me think about all the times I could have told a good story.
Yeah.
I bet you've had some of those too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. How many times have you had like a crazy experience or learned something new and then just kind of fumbled through telling someone about it?
Yeah. Yeah, we've all been there.
We have. But what if instead of just like listing the facts, we turned those experiences into like really good stories?
I'm already starting to see things differently.
Yeah.
Every conversation, every event, it's all potential stories waiting to be told.
Exactly. And what's really cool, you don't need a stage or a spotlight to tell a good story. It can be everyday conversations, job interviews, even just like a funny story with friends. All those are opportunities to practice your storytelling.
It's like we're surrounded by stories, just waiting to be shared.
Exactly.
I'm really feeling inspired to start weaving narratives into my life.
I love it. And remember, the more you practice, the more confident you'll get as a storyteller. It's like any skill, the more you use it, the better you get.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the art of storytelling, I want to leave you with a challenge. Think about something that happened recently in your life, something that made you laugh or challenged you or even changed how you see things.
Ooh.
Now, how could you turn that into a compelling story?
I like it.
Using what we talked about today.
Yeah, I love that challenge. Think about the setting, the goal, the tension, those cool details, and that perfect ending comment. Let's see what stories you come up with.
We would love to hear your stories too. Share them in the comments below. Let's build a community of storytellers, all sharing what we've been through, inspiring each other with the power of narrative.
Because at the end of the day, stories are meant to be shared. They bring us together, they teach us, they inspire us.
Yeah.
So go out there and tell your stories. The world is waiting to hear them.
It's like we've been handed this amazing toolkit.
Yeah.
And now we just got to go out and use it,
Yeah.
This is making me think about all the times I've had like a cool experience or learned something new, and I just, kind of stumbled through telling someone about it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, think about it. How many times has that happened where you have like a wild experience or you learn something really interesting and you kind of mess up explaining it.
We've all been there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But what if, instead of just like saying what happened, we took those things and turned them into like really good stories?
Yeah.
It's like I'm already seeing things differently.
I know, right? It's like a whole new perspective.
Every conversation, every event, it's all like potential story material.
Exactly. And you know, that's so cool. You don't need a stage or a spotlight to tell a good story. It can be like everyday stuff, like just talking to people, job interviews, even just like a funny story with your friends. It's all practice.
It's like we're just surrounded by stories waiting to be told.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm really feeling inspired to like bring more stories into my life.
I love that. And remember, the more you practice this stuff, the more confident you'll get at telling stories. It's like any skill, the more you use it, the better you get.
So as we're wrapping up this deep dive into storytelling, I want to leave you with something to think about. Think about something that happened to you recently.
Right.
Something that maybe made you laugh, or something that was a challenge, or maybe even like changed how you see the world.
Ooh, that's good.
Now, think about how you could take that and turn it into a story.
I liked it.
Using what we talked about today.
Yeah, I love that challenge. Think about the setting, the goal, the tension. Remember those awesome details and that perfect last line. I want to see what you come up with.
We'd love to hear your stories too. Share them in the comments below. Let's make a whole community of storytellers, all sharing what we've been through and inspiring each other with the power of stories.
Because at the end of the day, stories are meant to be shared. They bring us together. They teach us things. They inspire us.
Yeah.
So go out there and tell your stories. The world wants to hear them.
This has been great. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive, and we'll see you next time.